Hello and welcome to the Conversation Coffee Break with your host Nadine Matheson. As always, I hope that you're well and I hope that you're enjoying your week. Now, joining me for our coffee break today is author Lola Jaye, and she published her first novel way back in 2008, and that novel was called By the Time You Read This. Lola started with contemporary fiction and then she moved into historical fiction, and the novel that we're talking about today in our coffee break is called The Manual for Good Wives, and it's available now. And the thing about this episode of Coffee Break, this is the episode where you will see, because you can watch this episode on YouTube and you can hear when I have the brainwave to introduce a new segment of the conversation called Coffee Break. I really hope you enjoy this episode. As always, please leave a review. You can do that on Apple Podcasts if that's where you're listening. You can leave comments on Spotify and I can reply to those comments, or you can just leave me messages on my social media posts. And also, if you're enjoying the coffee break, please buy me a cup of coffee. The link is in the show notes. Your gift of a cup of coffee helps keep the podcast going. Now, as I usually say on the Conversation podcast, sit back or go for a walk, but instead, grab a cup of coffee or tea and enjoy your break. Lola Jaye, welcome to the conversation.
Hello.
Nice to have you here. Right, Lola, I'm going to show you something, right? I'm going to show you this.
Glasses.
I'm going to show you. So I'm showing you While You Were Dreaming, which I think was your second book.
Yeah.
And I remember when I bought it, and I think I was leaving work and I'd wandered into WH Smith and I saw it on the shelf and I bought it. And then obviously I opened it and I saw your glorious picture.
Oh gosh, don't know that anymore, do I?
I saw this black woman in it and I just thought, oh my gosh, I have to get her book. So my question to you, Lola, is how would you describe your writing journey from, I say, the publication of not this one, of your first one, while you were, by the time you read this, to present day, The Manual for Good Wives?
Oh my gosh, we need to start before that, because
before that.
People always ask me that. You know, I like this saying, it takes like almost an eternity to become an overnight success, right? Mm-hmm. Because the first book did really well, but it took me 8 years to find an agent. It was 8 years. And this was the days before you can kind of talk to an agent online or whatever, you know, on Twitter or something. Oh, I shouldn't say that word. But yeah, bad saying that word. But yeah, it was before all of that. It took me 8 years of sending manuscripts in the post. This is very archaic times. Mm-hmm. And getting, you know, waiting maybe 2 weeks to a month, maybe even 3 months to get a response. And the response was usually no. Or, yeah, you can write, but we don't know where to put someone like you. That was my favorite one. We wouldn't know where to place you. And I knew that was code for something. Yeah.
But how would you describe the books you were writing? Because I would just say it's just normal contemporary fiction.
Maybe that was the problem, because I wasn't writing about black pain and trauma. Yes, there was trauma in it, but the first one, as you know, was about a dad who was dying and he wanted to leave a manual for his child. And that is a universal pain, isn't it? It's universal. Yeah. So he could literally be any color, even though he was obviously a black man. I was writing about, you know, someone that looks like me, but it was a universal type of pain and issue. It wasn't, you know, a civil war in Africa and stuff like that. I'm just guessing here, but when I kept getting the same thing, we wouldn't know where to place you. And maybe there's only room for one. I don't know.
Who else was there, though? If we're looking back in 2008, before that.
I don't describe my work, especially then, as literary fiction. It would be commercial fiction. So I don't know. You tell me.
I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think early 2000s. That's when you're sending your book out.
Yeah,
8 years. So you're talking,
Dorothy Coomson came along, at some point. But before, when I was querying, it would have been a long time before that. You're not going to age me by telling me when that was.
I'm not going to age you. It's difficult to say who else was out there? Because I can't think of anyone
No.
else who was out there to compare you with.
And maybe that's the problem, because if you haven't got a tried and tested formula, if what is tried and tested is Black trauma, we'll stick with that. There was a lot of American Black writers and they were killing it. I mean, when I was in school and college, I would read Eric Jerome Dickey.
Yeah.
So he was writing about universal themes, about love, things that affects everybody. So that was amazing. But for UK, we're going to have to, put our thinking cap on for that. So when I was querying, I don't think there was any. So I was trying to break the mold, but it wasn't working because nobody wanted me.
How do you, also, what does that do to your psyche? But how do you keep pushing through that? Because as I said, there was no reason. I said, considering what you were writing, there was no reason for you not to be picked up immediately and just put on a shelf anywhere.
Yeah. Your question, what kept me going, is a healthy dose of delusion that I could break this. A better word to use is self-belief. You've got to have this incredible self-belief as a writer. I never say aspiring writer, because I think as soon as you pick up, you're a writer. You have to have this crazy amount of self-belief that I can do it no matter what agents are telling me, even maybe some editors might be saying, because they're communicating by what is out there. So if you see what's out there is nothing that looks like you or what you write, that's another communication that you shouldn't be doing this. But you need to block that noise and say, okay, I can be a trailblazer. I can do what I want to do. But that comes with self-belief and knowing that you can do it. And it might not happen tomorrow like you want it to, but it will eventually happen. So I think I had so much self-belief in myself at that point, and a bit of delusion, definitely. Because, you have to, because it's like, you want to be a writer. Okay. All right. And you get met with that sometimes, as you may have got met with that when you decide to do.
Is this what you always wanted to do, though? Because obviously you're a psychotherapist, but writing was that it?
I'm totally blessed that when I was a kid, I said I wanted to be a psychotherapist and a writer, and I'm literally doing that now. The psychotherapist, I only wanted one client, and that client would pay me like £1,000 an hour. But I'm actually doing what I wanted to do. So I knew I wanted to have something to fall back on, because even though I have the self-belief that I'm going to be a writer, I want to be a therapist, because that'll always be something I can do. So I did my master's degree, and when I did my thesis, which was 20,000 words, I thought, oh, I've just done 20,000 words, just like that. I'm going to write my book now. I'm ready. And I know, how naive. And so after that, immediately handed in my thesis, then I started on my first book.
Always when I think back to those uni days and doing that dissertation, and you're told, oh, you've got your word limit, your word count, it has to be, it's either like 15,000 or 20,000 words, and you're thinking, how the hell am I going to write 15,000, 20,000 words? This is going to take me forever. And you do. And then when you think about the word count for novels, like, I think I'm contracted to write 100,000.
Oh my gosh.
Go over about 100,000 words. And now I'm like, God, I wish I'll meet that. Because I know I always go over, and I know my editor thinks, oh my God, she's gone over.
It's crazy, isn't it? But you get it done, right?
Yeah.
Get it done. Yeah.
So it takes you 8 years. Because I always say there's no overnight successes. Very rarely are there. There is this journey. So can you think back to that moment when you got the yes?
Oh my gosh, yes, I'll never forget it. So to the agent or the publication, which one?
To the agent, because you always think that's the big hurdle, isn't it? Because you always just think after that the publication will just be a click of the fingers. But I'll say the agent.
That's the one I least remember, because I remember mostly when I was ill. Yeah, I think because it was such a long and drawn out process. There used to be something called the Winchester Writers Festival, and you were allowed to have 5 minutes with an agent. And she was one of the two that I had, and the other one said, oh, I like your work, send me. And she said, I like your work, send it to me. And then she took me on, but I must have been excited. I just can't remember it as much as when I heard that I got a publishing contract. Yeah, I think it was like, it's 8 years, man, come on. Maybe I was just dehydrated at that point that I just, I don't know. Because it's a good question. I don't remember where I was, but I remember exactly where I was when I got the news, and I was walking through this weird alleyway. I just know I can see it now, and I can feel those feelings, but I
What
can't.
way? Yeah, what were you feeling?
Oh my gosh, I was just walking through. I was working for the NHS as a therapist, and I was walking through this alleyway, and my phone rings, and it's her, and it was just like, yeah, and it'd only been on submission not even that long, and then she told me it was HarperCollins. I either wanted HarperCollins or Penguin or another one, the top three, and it was them, and it was amazing. It was such an amazing feeling. It was so beautiful. Yeah, I loved it.
Did you ever not think though, I can't believe it's taken this long? Like, I've been working on this for years. I've been querying, I've been knocking at that door, and then you finally get you get the yes. But isn't there like a little bit of like, it shouldn't have taken this long. I should have been here 8 years ago.
Obviously, it was a while ago now. I don't remember feeling that way. I just remember feeling, okay, it's my time now. Because I always have this thing, because you see other people having publishing contracts. Not many look like me at the time, I got to say.
Yeah.
I never have this, and this is the same for me today. I try not to, no, I don't. I don't have this feeling of envy or jealousy with somebody else. Or, I was speaking to a writer the other day, and I asked her the same question, how long did it take you? It was literally overnight to get an agent. The agent came to that person. And when she said that, and she said, I feel guilty for saying that. I said, don't. That's your story.
No. Yeah.
My story was my story, and that's yours. And it's okay, So there are so many different stories, but I'm okay with that. So when it happened, I was just glad it happened. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, and lucky I never shared with people that I wanted to be a writer because, it was taking a while. But my partner at the time, he knew, and it's like, oh, you feel a bit inadequate that it's not happened. But luckily, I only told one person. If I told a whole tribe of people, then I think that would have fed into it's taking so long, because I would have been taking on their anxieties, not my own. And it's so easy for other people's.
No, and that's so true, because I remember like way, way, way before anything happened, before I even self-published, like my first book, and like, so my friends knew I wrote, and some of my family knew I wrote, and I remember one of my cousins, I gave him something to read, just to read it, just let me know what he thinks. And in every minute after that, you finished the book yet? You finished the book yet? So no, I haven't finished the book yet. I've got to work. I got other things to do. I haven't finished yet. And it's not just, you just finish it in a week. So yeah, I understand. It's like, sometimes you have to keep your ambitions and your plans like private to yourself.
Absolutely. I don't want to take on other people's anxiety. So I think that's how I kind of got through it. As I said, it was a long time ago. Maybe I felt a bit different, but I just knew that when it happened, it's like, okay, I exhaled. And I'm like, okay, this is when it was meant to happen. It wasn't meant to happen at such and such times. Now it's time. And I just kind of ran with it, really, because it was all like an amazing whirlwind. And this was before the market crashed in the world. So there was a lot of money around then. So, publishers would take me and other writers to spas, fancy dinners. And it was a great time.
See, that's I call it the hallmark movie dream of being a writer. Because you told me this before, that you got the publishers took you to a spa. I said, what do you mean they took you to a spa?
Yeah.
They took me to a spa. I've never been taken out to lunch. But the idea of going out to a spa with other writers, because it seems such, it's such opulence.
It was in another part of England. It wasn't in London. Another part of England.
Well, then it gets it gets worse, it gets better. But either way, it gets worse or it gets better. No, I don't know anyone who's been taken out to a spa.
Yeah, it doesn't happen anymore. No.
How else has publishing changed from publication of your first book to now?
Well, as I said, the reason why I wanted to write as a little girl was because, I was an avid reader and I wanted to read about people that looked like me, right? So I started to write, and the publishing industry, bring us up to 2020. 2020, and there was an influx of books of people who looked like me. It was so wonderful. But we know, reading the results now, that things have kind of backslided a little bit, unfortunately. So I feel that change is the one that I feel, yeah, is the most, the one that's affected me the most, seeing that. Because I remember walking past Waterstones in quite an affluent part of London. I don't live there, by the way, but I was just passing. And there are these children's books, and like 5 of them in the window were Black people, and it wasn't Black History Month. It was glorious to see. This
That's
was about
what you want.
22. It was wonderful to see that. And I say, long may that continue, but we will see. But there was something about that. I remember taking a video of it. I was just so shocked. The video was just for myself. I posted it online, but I don't think anyone's, unless they were, I don't know, unless they were maybe Black or readers, whatever, would see the significance. I didn't caption it, but I just put it there. It was amazing. All these children's books with Black faces on the front. And I thought, wow, there was nothing like that when I was a child. And this is just amazing. So that was really a moment for me.
How does it feel though? You know, when you do see the report, because I've written about it, that when these reports come out like once a year or twice a year, and I just roll my eyes. Like I ain't got the energy to sit there and be like, oh my God, I can't. It's like, yes, because it's the same. It's the same conclusion once or twice a year. So how do you feel when you see that there's literally, it's not even one step forward, 10 steps backwards. It's like, it's just no steps forwards at all.
You know, working as a therapist, I think sometimes my outlook can be a bit, not dark, jaded. We don't use the word dark for negativity, but jaded a little bit, because it's not just the publishing industry, it's all around us. 2020 was so pivotal. You know, we were talking about race, in a wider platform for the first time. And it was almost, to me, and I can only talk for myself, it was almost insulting, because it was almost like people suddenly acknowledged that racism existed, right? So every organization put out a statement, this was quite the norm. But I think 5 years is a typical mark for things to go back. So nothing really surprises me. So to me, it doesn't surprise me. And I'm actually okay about it, because I expected this. And that's okay. What we need to do, well, I don't have the power to change that. But what I can do is make sure that when I'm writing my books, I make sure I implement in those books what I want to. And for me, I like to put Black history in there. We know what's happening in America. We don't need to go there. We're in England, right? So thankfully, we don't have any banned books, But I am going to put Black history in my books, especially my historical fiction, because as that quote by Chinua Achebe, until the lions have their own voices, you're only going to hear about the hunters, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure that in my historical fiction books, whether I'm writing about romance or whatever, there's going to be a sprinkling of Black history in there from a Black person's perspective. And that's all I can do. And I'll try to keep doing that the best I can when I'm writing my historical fiction books. Untold stories. That's my passion, is untold stories. The publishing industry is going to do what it's going to do. The world is going to do what it's going to do. The world is literally on fire at the moment. It's going to do what it's going to do. So we all need to try to be able to exist in the madness and be okay. I need to be okay.
Did you ever not feel like a temptation though? I don't even know if temptation is the right word. So like going back when you are querying and you're being told, I don't know where to place you, I don't know where it fits. Did you not ever feel like, well, maybe I should, because I'm thinking of that film American Fiction, or the book American Fiction with Percy Everett, and he just wants to tell you a story. And they want him to tell the typical ghetto stereotype, gangland, black gang novel. So did you ever think, well, maybe why don't I just give them what they want?
No, because I know I'd be okay. And again, that's that delusional self-belief again. It's like, yeah, it's fine. I'll be okay. It took an eternity, but I was right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I never, no.
It's a good, sometimes the self-delusion is a good thing to have. Because if it wasn't for self-delusion, a lot of people wouldn't do anything. They'll just be stuck in the same place.
Yeah, I've been asked to write a certain book before. It was a long time ago, and I refused.
Really?
Oh yeah, we're not going to go into it. but it wasn't great. And I refused, to my detriment. I guess to my detriment in many ways, but not to,
like
not
financially,
to
personally, all that sort of.
but not my relationship with self, which is really important.
But it's
I don't really
but it's kind of insulting, though, isn't it? To think when someone's saying to you, because it could be completely different if someone was saying it to you, whether it's an editor or a completely new publisher saying it to you in terms of, oh, we want you to ghostwrite something. Can you write this? Because then it just becomes a project. It's an IP project. But asking you to change fundamentally, I suppose, who you are and what you believe in order to, I don't know, just to see yourself on the shelf and just to make some money. It is a bit, I think it is a bit insulting.
I don't know, in my situation, it was that deep, but I just knew that I would never write a book like that. And I'm okay with that. I've heard things about my favorite anecdote or story that I heard from somebody. This was more TV, where she developed this character, a black boy who is into comics, and was a bit geeky.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, make him into rap music. And he liked rock. No, he has to like rap music and he can't be into comics. And it's like, dude, really? There are so many black boys that are into comics, and there are some black people that like rock music, and there are some black people that don't like hip hop. Breaking news, right? So we are so not a monolith, and that's the thing I want to get in my writing. So whilst my historical fiction is going to have a sprinkling of Black history, it's also going to show that we're not a monolith. So if, like, The Manual for Good Wives, my latest book, this is half of it is set in Victorian England. An African person in those times would be seen as maybe, I don't know, a former enslaved person if they managed to end up in England. And they would be living in the slums, if they exist at all. Because remember, Black people only came here during Windrush. They weren't here before, right? So I want to dispel that myth and show a genteel Black woman who lives in 1888 in London, has her own home, is not a maid. She actually has her own maid. How about that? And I know there were Black women in this country who had that because I researched them. But, oh no, they have to, So for me to have the freedom to write that is amazing in this day and age. And I'll continue to do that.
Has anyone ever come back to you with that in terms of like reviews? Because when you read readers' reviews, they can come up with a lot of things.
They do come up with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully, they show you if it's, thankfully, I do like the 5-star reviews, 4.75. If I come across one that's 3 and under, I'm not looking at it. And that's something I've learned a long time ago not to do. When I was I call myself a baby author, I would ignore all the 5-star reviews and only look at the lower ones.
See, I never did that. I just couldn't do it to myself.
Oh, I did it to myself, so I would read it. So now I've told myself I'm never doing that again. Since the second novel, never. Just focus on the good stuff. So maybe in the small reviews, not that I have many, boom, boom, but maybe in those ones they would say that. But yeah, I don't want that to enter my psyche because it's really hard to write a book. I don't need any outward distractions. Sometimes I'm not well. I suffer from a chronic illness. So if I'm having a moment with that, I cannot have my mind taken somewhere else. So, oh my gosh, I'm clearly not good enough. I'm not good at this, because that's what it will breed if you start reading these bad reviews. And so, no, I don't. My energy is best spent not procrastinating and getting on with the novel. So I don't know. It's not a good answer.
I can't believe you even went there in the first place looking at the 1 and 2 star reviews, because I would have been immediately from the beginning that I don't need to know, like, I'm not interested. There's nothing you can tell me in your 1 or 2 star review that's going to benefit me in any shape or form.
I was a baby author. I was naive. I ain't doing that again ever. Yeah. And when people write to me, they don't write with bad things. Although there was a typo once in one of the books and someone did write to tell me, I thanked her. And I got on to my publishers, excuse me. No. And then they changed it for the next one. So that was beneficial. But yeah.
So, Lola, like, looking back, because we got a shorter interview today, we had loads of technical. It was a mad day, a mad start to our recording. So this is like it's like a fast track conversation. But
one at some point.
yeah, we're gonna do another one. I think we'll do another one in season 4.
Yeah,
most
back
definitely.
in September. So
yeah, we're gonna have you back. So, what piece of advice do you wish you'd been told like earlier in your career?
Oh my gosh, I knew this answer yesterday because I thought about it. I remember thinking, I wish someone had told me this. I think it's coming. Do you know what? I don't remember what it was. I'm going to full disclosure, but I just thought of one. I just thought of one. I'm trying to put it in an antidote, but maybe I just won't. Basically, what one person finds amazing, another one might find crap. Can I use the word crap?
Of course you can. You can say anything you want within reason.
Okay. But yeah. So if we go back to the reviews again, you might get someone who thinks it's the best book they've ever read. You might get someone who thinks it's boring. So to me, if you're constantly trying to please everybody with your writing, you're going to get nowhere because you're going to be deleting, editing to this person's taste, that person's taste. Write for you, especially in that first draft or the second draft, third draft. You haven't sent it out yet or whatever. Write for you. I think the inauthenticity of it will show if you're just writing to please people. So one person might think it's amazing, another person may not. That's okay. It's what you think that matters. Is this the best you can do? This is the best 5th draft you can do. This is the best story arc you can do. It's you. You are literally the consumer, the editor, the agent in that first instance. Because I think at one point, I know you asked me this question before, did I ever try to fit? No, but I remember writing stuff and trying to, I don't know, agents saying, don't like this, you know, and trying to fit that. And you're just wasting time. Just write. I know it sounds really simplistic. And someone asked me this the other day. Yeah.
But it sounds simplistic. Well, I'd say it is simplistic, but it is the best piece of advice I think that you can give to a writer. You know, it's just another way of saying just write the story that you want to read yourself.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, high earning woman. Are you ready to own your own money and your own future? On the High Earning Woman podcast, we dive into real money moves, bold success stories, and the game plan for financial freedom. Hit follow and let's build wealth on our own terms.
She wakes up with purpose, stacks on her mind, grinding all day, hustle refined, shattering ceiling, she's fierce and untamed. Boss is her title, wealth is her game, power in heels or sneakers on deck. Respect comes easy when you earn that check. From boardroom to businesses, she's got finesse. This woman right here.
Yes.
Because the minute you start trying to, emulate someone else, or if I say so, okay, I'm gonna write historical fiction, but I want to write like a Lola Jaye book. I'm not being true to myself. Yes, I'm showing an appreciation of you, but it's not being true to my writing and to myself generally. So you have to write the story that you want, that you would want to read yourself, and you'll find your voice.
Absolutely. It's that story that's burning inside of you. And someone wants to start writing a book, and they asked me the other day, you know, I don't know what to do. And I said, you know, a simplistic response, write. And they looked at me like I was crazy. So then I just kind of backtracked and said, okay, what you need to do, because obviously you're doing all this preparation, you're going to be in a state of preparation for 5 more years at this stage.
Yeah.
So read. I know you just said now, I want to write a Lola Jaye book, but there's ways around that. I said to him, read the type of book that you want to write, not to plagiarize it, but just to read how they've done it, the structure, the beginning, the middle, the end, and get a synopsis down. Again, a beginning, middle, and end. And that was the advice I gave to him, because he's been procrastinating for 10 years and not doing anything. And I think deep down, there was a fear. And I said to him, I mean, this person I really respect, so I was kind of choosing my word lightly. And I said, is it fear? I don't want to put words into your mouth. And he said, yeah, it is.
Well,
it's a fear.
It's a fear, it's probably like it's a fear of failure, isn't it? Because
is.
also you have no idea how this writing journey of yours is going to turn out. It could be that the piece you write today, it gets submitted, it gets picked up,
Yeah.
and then it goes supernova and you're everywhere and you have the writing career that you just dream of. Or it could be the other way around where you just keep writing and writing and writing and writing and nothing happens. And then when it does get published, well, it's published, but then you can't find it in bookshops. And there's so many points on the spectrum where you could fall. So of course that fair's not going to be surprising.
No, and it's the same for so many different things, so many walks of life. I mean, when someone says to me that they're procrastination can be a fear of failure a lot of the time, because once you start the task, oh my gosh, now it can actually go wrong or go well. If you don't start it, and this is unconscious to me as a therapist speaking now, so unconsciously, if you don't start it, there's literally zero part of you failing because you ain't started it.
Well, it's not.
I'll start it next month. So there's no evidence that I failed it because I'm not going to start it until next month.
It's great. It always goes back to those stories that we tell ourselves. It's crazy, the stories we tell ourselves that could stop us pursuing the thing that we really want to do. Or even when we do it, we tell ourselves a story to stop ourselves from pushing ourselves further.
Yeah.
Like we something like we play small and just try and keep safe.
Yeah, or we listen to others around us. That's why we spoke earlier about telling people that you're writing a book. Choose who you tell wisely, because people have their own issues. How do you know that Jane Doe that you've told that you're writing a book hasn't secretly wanted to write a book, and you're actually doing what she wanted to do, but she's not been able to for maybe, I don't know, practical reasons or financial reasons, and you're doing it. Her response to you may not be favorable. And you're going to take on some of that. So just be careful who you tell, if you're going to tell. With me and you, we hardly tell anybody, right? But just be careful who you tell. And also, when's the book coming out? That's
a horrible pressure to have, because it's a whole thing. It's a whole procedure. It's not just, unless you're self-publishing. Even if you're self-publishing, you still have to put the work in. You still need to have a plan. You still need to follow all the steps that a traditional publisher would follow. The difference is you're doing it yourself as opposed to having a whole team out there doing it for you.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
God,
it's a hard industry, but I think it's one where it's good to have support around you. Even though we say, keep your circle of trust small, it's still important to have a circle around you who knows what you're going through and can support you.
I agree. And I think I've only taken advantage of that fairly recently. It must have been since post-lockdown, because before I was just an island. It was just me. None of my immediate friends write. But then now I've got a lot of author friends now, and they've talked me off a ledge a few times and vice versa, so it's because they understand, so, in this day and age, we don't make phone calls, we text. I was in a huddle and I picked up the phone, and this is a best-selling author. She's huge. I rang her, but I was like, I've had enough. And she just was brilliant. Absolutely
what did she
brilliant.
say to you, if you're prepared to share it? What did she say to you?
Sometimes you don't remember what people say, but you remember how to make you feel, as the gorgeous Maya Angelou said.
Yeah.
And I just know that she was just great. She wasn't stroking my ego. I don't respond to that. She was just being very practical, because I know that she's been through it herself. And I know where she is now, which is, up there. But she was just wonderful. I literally don't remember what she said, but I know how she made me feel. You know who you are. So, yeah.
But I think that's important to recognise, because even the other day, was it yesterday or what day is it? Today? It's Thursday. So, no, Tuesday. I'm not going to say it was, but I'd messaged someone who is big. I say big, massive author. And I was talking, I hadn't spoken to him for ages, like asking him how things are going, asking him for a copy of his book. Because I'm like, listen, I don't normally beg, and I will pre-order. However, I need a proof copy. And I was saying to him, how do you feel? And he's like, oh, I'm nervous. And I'm like, why are you nervous? You're going to be fine. And he's like, no, I'm nervous. And I said, well, we know what's interesting is the fact that it doesn't matter how big you get, And it doesn't matter how many books you write, even if we just take whether you're a bestseller or not out of it, it doesn't matter how many books you write, that feeling of nervousness, is this book going to be, I say accepted, and I mean accepted in sense of, are the readers going to like it? Is it going to be reviewed well? That feeling never goes away. That your 8th book will always feel like your first book.
Yeah. But I'm going to turn that on its head and maybe in a positive way, because I think that you're just really complacent about it, then maybe we have to rethink this. Maybe there is healthy nerves, obviously, not throwing up and stuff, but healthy nerves. And maybe that's a good thing, because you still care. You actually care.
I agree with you. I think you need it. Like, you definitely, you need that healthy dose of nervousness. You still need to care. Like, I always say that in relation to, I say, being a criminal lawyer. The minute you don't care, the minute things, I say you won't be affected in sense of like, I can't do this case, because you need to be able to compartmentalize yourself. But the minute you're no longer caring, or things really don't trigger you in a little way, then you might as well walk away.
I hear you.
You need that to keep giving you that drive, to keep that momentum going.
For sure. I agree. Yeah.
Right, because we're doing a shortened version of this interview, because we're going to have you back. So I'm not going to ask you your final set of questions. I'm going to save that for Lola Jaye part 2. Because I think that's a good thing to do. So what I'm going to ask you about, because I'm going to ask you about the manual. No, I'm going to ask you about the manual for good wives. But before I ask you about that, why did you pivot from what I would call, just commercial contemporary fiction to historical?
Oh gosh. Yeah. So there was a huge gap between books. So oh gosh, my memory. So While You're Dreaming, and By the Time You Read This, were the first 2. Then I had a third book called Being Lara that was actually only released in America and Germany and some other places. Did really well in America, but I didn't get a publisher for UK. Can you imagine having a book in other countries? Yeah, I didn't get a publisher.
And normally it's the other way around. Like, you'll struggle. Like, it was hard work to get a US publisher.
Yeah, and it was a bestseller in America. It was like in Target and all those places. So that was interesting. So then after that, I had a long break. I moved to America and just things weren't happening. And then when I came back, I did what we call sagas. And they were like historical fiction. And it just kind of like, okay, I'm writing about World War II. I was very interested in, Black history, because I was getting fed up of people saying that we weren't here before Windrush. And a lot more was coming up thanks to the internet about our contribution in World War I and World War II. Caribbean people, African people, we were part of it. So I had to write about that. So it was more of a burning sensation of of injustice that, I want to tell these stories. And then the epic historical fiction just came about, The Attic Child. You probably know the story of that. I saw a photo of a little boy, and I'd actually just sold another saga, which was set in World War II. But when I saw that picture of that boy, I walked away from the contract. I said, no, don't want that no more. I want to write this.
You walked away?
Yeah. Look, it wasn't £1 million, but you know what I mean?
No, but it don't. You know what? You could have just lied. We could have just said it was £1 million. You know what I mean?
I know. But yeah, this boy, I had to write his story. And so I got out of that contract, wrote this story, and that's it. And so that was more of an epic historical. So those sagas are very small. This one was huge. And then obviously that's how we now get to the Manual for Good Wives, which again is quite big. But The Attic Child was 130,000 words. I usually struggle to get to 70,000, but I just kept writing and writing and writing because there was something in me. It's almost like the ghost of the little boy was telling me to get on with it. It was amazing. It was like the easiest book I wrote, but the most complicated.
And the Manual for Good Wives, you're gonna tell the listeners of the conversation about the Manual for Good Wives, and then we're gonna say goodbye to Lola Jaye, but we are gonna bring her back. I might make this a new thing. Might do it like little mini interviews, mini conversations.
Yeah, why not? The Manual for Good Wives is loosely based on my grandparents, falling in love they were literally an African version of Romeo and Juliet. They were not supposed to fall in love. So I used that for the first part. But most of the book is really a love letter to Black women, really. And it shows how gender roles with women haven't really changed, because one half is set in the Victorian times. The other half is set now. And obviously things have changed for women, but clearly not enough. If we look at both of these women's stories, Temi and Landry. Landry is a professional woman, but her partner is very much threatened by her profession, her professional status, and is quite controlling. Temi, 1888, she's trying to make her way as a Black woman in Victorian London. So we know the issues that have come there, but she takes no prisoners. Both these women are just boss bitches. Am I allowed to say that?
You said it, it's fine.
I always think my nan is watching, but she literally is not.
I thought it's completely off topic. I always feel this way about, if you'll notice in my books, I don't really write sex scenes. Because I'm like, oh God. One, I can't be asked, but two, Mum and Dad gonna read it.
Yeah, too right. But yeah, so it's a love letter to womanhood, and specifically Black women, because we don't get many love letters, do we?
No. Oh, we do. We need more books that are love letters to Black women. We definitely need more of that. Okay, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you this one question I always ask now. So this is in regards to your book. If you could spend an afternoon with any of your characters in the Manual for Good Wives, whom would you choose and why?
Oh my gosh. Oh man, that's a great question.
It is, isn't it? I stole it from Oprah. I'm not even going to lie.
Okay. Okay. I don't think Temi needs me. She's pretty cool. Okay. Iyabo. I don't want to give too much away. She's always felt very much unloved. She's not a main character, actually. She's quite a minor character. She's not in it much, but she's felt unloved her entire life. So I'd love to spend some time with her, give her a hug, and tell her that she's worthy. She's going to be okay.
You know, I always find interesting about that question. It's never really the main character who the author wants to spend the afternoon with. I think the number of times I've asked, I think one person out of maybe 10 has mentioned a main character. It's normally some minor, someone in the background they want to spend the afternoon with.
Right, yeah, definitely her. And if you read the book, you'll know why. She's not a great girl, but there's reasons why she's not a great girl.
Yeah, and you want to give her a hug.
Absolutely, yeah. we all need a nice fluffy hug, don't we?
We do. Well, Lola Jaye, this is going to be our shorter. This is our mini. This is like our coffee break conversation. This is what I'm going to call it. I'm going to do a new segment. I think I'll call them the coffee break conversations. So, which means that you're going to come back. We're going to have you back in season 4, and we'll do a full conversation. Oh God, season 4 is going to start in September. Excuse me, I coughed. But season 4 will start. Okay. Yeah. So we will bring you back and do a full conversation with Lola Jaye.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
So this leads me to say not goodbye, but see you later, Lola Jaye, and we'll have you back on the conversation.
See you later.
And that's it for this coffee break. Thank you so much for joining me. Starting from season 4, we'll be bringing you regular coffee breaks, 20-minute episodes, perfect for a quick chat with your favourite authors about their latest book. And here's the fun part. Next season, we're answering your questions. If there's something you've always wanted to ask an author, send it in. Email your question to theconversation@nadinematthieson.com, and we might just answer it in a future episode with a special shout out to you, of course. Until next time, keep reading, keep listening, and I'll see you soon for another coffee break. Oh, and before I forget, don't forget, subscribe, follow, like, review, and share this episode with your friends. Your support keeps the podcast growing, and if you head down to the show notes, you can also support the podcast by buying us a cup of coffee. The links are in the show notes.